What's up, guys? My name is TechnoTuner, and today I'm bringing you my live test hands video of the Yubel Sacred Beast deck for Genesys. This deck is a lot of fun to play. For those people that really love Yubel and the Sacred Beasts, this deck is something to really take a look at and further reinvent if you don't like the playstyle of how this deck goes to better fit your playstyle. This deck has a lot of capabilities of setting up either Sacred Beasts or the Yubel plays, but being able to really just swing out for a lot of damage or get your opponent to swing into you so they take the damage. Now, as a lot of people know, Yubel is one of those fan favorite archetypes that does so well in either competitive, rogue, or whatever at this point, because the deck has a lot of capability to further grow and be utilized in other decks, such as mixing it with Fiendsmith. You can mix it with Sacred Beast, as I'm doing now, or you can mix it with, I think I saw somebody try doing Mitsurugi. There's a lot of room for this deck to further grow, in which I was stating. So I would recommend checking this out if you have the chance. Now, I will state for this test video that it's going to be a little hard to really show off the full power of this deck because it does work a lot better for your opponent to swing into your monsters so they take the damage, and it has a lot more intricate interactions that I can't really show in just this video. However, I did want to try and at least show you guys some of the combos that I can do with this deck and give you an idea of what you can expect. Anyways, guys, let's go ahead and hop right into our first test hands with us going first twice for our first two, and then our final one going second. All right, so our first test hand is going to be Super Poly. Opening the Spirit Gates, Drollin Lockbird, Gruesome Grave Squirmer, and Samsara D. Lotus. Now, if you have noticed, this hand is a lot more tuned to the Yubel side of things, which is perfectly fine. But let's go ahead and look into this and start off our combos. We'll go ahead and first activate Opening of the Spirit Gates. This card will allow us to search up one card that allows us to either A, special summon or list Hamon, Uriah, or Raviel, or we can add one of the three. In this case, our best bet would be to go ahead and grab a Dark Beckoning Beast. Now, the reason why I'm saying a Dark Beckoning Beast is because we're going to be focusing more on the Yubel side of this so we can get some interruptions set up. So we'll go ahead and normal summon Dark Beckoning Beast, which will let us get an additional normal summon of a fiend monster with 0 attack and defense, which we're going to do the Samsara D. Lotus. We'll then tribute this card, special summon one Yubel monster from our deck. In this case, we'll go ahead and special summon Spirit of Yubel. When Spirit of Yubel hits the board, we can then add to our hand or set one spell and trap from our deck that mentions Yubel. In this case, we'll go ahead and add Nightmare Pain. We'll then do Nightmare Pain, where we can destroy one dark monster in our hand or face up field and add one Yubel or one card that mentions it from our deck to our hand. Since we don't really want the Dark Beckoning Beast to linger around, we're going to pop that to get us a... if I can find it. The thing is, you can do either Nightmare Throne, which can get you a free search, or you can do Eternal Favorite to allow you to fuse, but since we already have Super Poly, we're going to grab the Nightmare Throne. Nightmare Throne, when this card is activated, you can take one fiend monster with 0 attack and defense from your deck, either add to your hand or destroy it. In this case, we'll go ahead and then destroy the Dark Summoning Beast from our deck, in which we can then activate the effect in Graveyard to banish this card and add one Uriah, Lord of Searing Flames, Hamon, Lord of Striking Thunder, or Raviel. In this case, we're going to go ahead and add us a Hamon. If I can find the Hamon. So we got the Hamon there. So what do we do from here? Well, we have a lot of capabilities, in which one is going to be special summoning the Gruesome Grave Squirmer, popping the Spirit of Yubel to summon a Yubel from our deck. So we'll go ahead and summon the Spirit, or summon the Yubel, and then move to end step, in which we can summon back the Samsara D Lotus, but pop the Grave Squirmer. Grave Squirmer. You can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon one fiend monster with 0 attack and defense from your hand or graveyard. But we're not going to really worry about that because we're going to utilize that for our next turn. But we're going to summon Samsara D Lotus in defense before I forget that. Now, the other thing is, since a face-up Yubel monster left the hand, and I almost did forget to mention that, because since we did use Grave Squirmer effect to get that, we can add to our hand one Yubel monster from our deck, Graveyard Banishment, that is one level higher or lower. In this case, I'm not really going to worry about it because we're not at that point right now where we really want to utilize it. But we can utilize that effect to get us the other one, which allows us to be summoned, which I think is Terra Incarnate. So you can grab the Terra Incarnate if you'd like. But I like to leave it in deck just in case. But I can understand if you're trying to play around Ash Blossom or anything like that, that you have it in hand. It's also just an extra discard for that. But the other thing is, before you go to end step, make sure to set that Super Poly, because you can utilize that to fuse into your Yubel, the Loving Defender Forever, which can really help burn out your opponent, but also give you some free capability to really work with some stuff on the board. But that's all that I have for the first test hand for this one. While there's a lot of capability, because you do have the change effect, which would, for an opponent's monster, to destroy a Yubel, which would destroy this, allowing you to summon Yubel Terra Incarnate, and then allowing you to grab off of Nightmare Throne the Spirit of Yubel to your hand, which can help you out further. So then you can fully utilize the effect of super polymerization if you want, because you can just fuse 2 of your opponent's monsters together, but you also do have to discard either the Yubel Terra Incarnate, if that's still in your hand, or the Haman, or if you're in the battle phase or whatever, you can utilize the Spirit of Yubel as a discard. It's really up to you, but the other thing is we do have the Drone Lockbird for further lockout from our opponent from searching the deck. So it makes it a little bit more difficult for them to break our board. Anyways, guys, let's go ahead and hop right into our second going first test hand. All right, our next test hand is going to be Yubel Terra Incarnate, Dark Beckoning Beast, Nightmare Pain, Opening of the Spirit Gates, and Samsara D Lotus. So we have a lot of capability to really look into our plays here. So what we can do with this is go ahead and activate Opening of the Spirit Gates, allowing us to add a Lord Haman or Raviel. Sorry, my brain kind of broke trying to say their names. Or a actual beast monster we can utilize. In this case, we're going to go ahead and grab us a Chaos Summoning Beast. And then we'll next normal summon Dark Beckoning Beast. This gives us the capability of getting another normal summon, but it also allows us to get a Uriah, Haman, or Raviel from our deck to our hand. We're going to grab that Haman. Next, we'll go ahead and normal summon that Chaos Summoning Beast, allowing us to tribute this card and special summon a Uriah from our hand, or it'd be Uriah, Haman, or Raviel from hand. We'll next activate the effect of Chaos Summoning Beast, banishing it to grab us a Fallen Paradise. Fallen Paradise then allows us to get a free draw 2, since we control at least one of the Sacred Beasts. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle this up and then get to draw 2 cards. If I remember correctly. Yep. So you can draw 2 cards. So we drew Spirit of Yubel and Yubel, which can do a lot in all capabilities here. So we'll go ahead and activate the Nightmare Pain, allowing us to pop the Spirit of Yubel in hand to allow us to special summon a Yubel from our hand, which will then go ahead and summon that. Or, if you really want to, you can pop the Samsara D Lotus. It doesn't really matter at this point because what we're going to be doing is still using the Spirit of Yubel later on. Now, you can discard one card, special summon Fiend Monster with 0 attack and defense in your graveyard. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We'll discard the Samsara D Lotus to summon back the Spirit of Yubel. This is what I was meaning. Spirit of Yubel effect to go ahead and grab us a spell or trap that mentions Yubel. And we'll go ahead and get Eternal Favorite. So we'll go ahead and set that to our field. We'll move to end step. And then we'll go ahead and summon the Samsara D Lotus, but pop the Dark Beckoning Beast. So that way we have full capability of further making it to where our opponent has to attack into our Yubel monsters, but we also get to utilize some effects. And I also missed this whole part where we, during the main phase, you pop a dark monster in your hand or face up field. And since we popped the Spirit of Yubel, we get to add a Yubel or one card that mentions it. So that was my fault. But in this case, we would just grab a Gruesome Grave Squirmer so we can further interact with our opponent during our turn. That's all the difference is right there. Or if you want recovery for next turn, you can grab a Mature Chronicle and activate that instead. So you can get further triggers off of the counters for Mature Chronicle. So that was my fault. I did miss that and only did half the effect. But this is what you're going to be looking at for end step overall, to where you have full capability to fuse with your opponent's board using Eternal Favorite. You have Haman on board, and technically you didn't even have to summon him into attack. You can summon him into defense, which makes it really difficult for your opponent to really do anything, because this makes it to where your opponent has to attack into Haman if it's in defense position, but with Nightmare Pain, it forces them to attack into your Yubel monsters, so it makes it even more difficult because they can't choose an attack target because they are forced to attack into this one off of Nightmare Pain and Haman off its own effect. So technically, they can't declare an attack. The other thing is you can still change an effect to destroy a Yubel on the field and summon the Yubel Terror Incarnate, which can get you further into your plays. But outside of that, guys, that's all I have for the second going first test hands. I hope you did enjoy this one. And next one, we're going to be looking at a going second one, where we can see a much different board, where hopefully we can get a full OTK going. All right, so our going second hand is going to be Nightmare Pain, Super Poly, Gruesome Grave Squirmer, Opening the Spirit Gates, Fallen Paradise, and then Chaos Summoning Beast. So what we're going to first do is go ahead and activate that Opening of the Spirit Gates and grab us a Dark Beckoning Beast. This way we can get that additional normal summon. Also grab us a Uriah or Haman or Raviel. In this case, we're going to go ahead and normal summon the Beckoning Beast, allowing us to get a... Where is he? We're going to try to go for a Raviel at this point, if I can find him. He decided to hide a little bit. We'll go ahead and grab the Raviel. Next, we'll go ahead and get that another normal summon off to summon it into the Chaos Summoning Beast. So we'll then activate the effect to tribute it and special summon the Lord of Phantasms. Now, you can still activate this effect to banish it, because I do play 2 Fallen Paradise in this deck build, in which we're going to banish it to get us a Fallen of Paradise. That way we can deck thin a little bit. We'll activate Fallen of Paradise, allowing us to draw 2 cards, which is Dark Summoning Beast and Super Poly. So we have a little bit more interesting capability that we can do here. We'll go ahead and activate Nightmare Throne, allowing us to destroy a dark monster. we'll send the Dark Summoning Beast to add 1 Yubel or monster that mentions it. And what we can do here is grab a Spirit of Yubel. Now, for those that are curious as to what can you do next with this hand, there is actually a lot of capability. So what we're going to do is activate the effect to discard 1 card. We'll discard Spirit of Yubel, summon back Dark Summoning Beast, and then we'll tribute off Dark Summoning Beast, activating its effect. And summon from our deck either a Uriah or a Haman. While we are kind of blocked from doing any attacks this turn, that's perfectly fine, because we're going to go ahead and get that Haman onto the board. Then we'll go ahead and banish this to add a Uriah, since that's the last one we have in hand. So I'll go ahead and grab the Uriah, Lord of Searing Flames. So we've already gotten basically full combo. If you had polymerization here instead of a super poly, you could utilize that effect and go directly into one of your bigger fusion monsters to fully utilize this. But once again, we've already kind of battle locked ourselves because we use Chaos Summoning Beast effect, or Dark Summoning Beast effect instead of Chaos, which is perfectly fine. We don't really need to worry about it. But there are still other things that we can do, in which we'll go ahead and special summon Gruesome Grave Squirmer, then pop it with its own effect. Then to use it to banish it to special summon the Spirit of Yubel, we'll summon an attack, Spirit of Yubel effect, allowing us to grab a Yubel card. In this case, we can grab Nightmare Throne, Eternal Favorite, however you see fit. In this case, we're going to go ahead and we will because I'm trying to think of the best play here for this. And gets a... Yep, okay. So we'll go ahead and grab us an Eternal Favorite instead of the Nightmare Throne. If we grab the Nightmare Throne, it's going to be a little bit brickier because we have to end up adding a monster or destroying it that has 0 attack and defense from our deck. But we still have a lot of capabilities here because we can set the Eternal Favorite. And we still have Uriah in hand. Now the fun fact is, we could have summoned Uriah instead, because we could have grabbed, instead of Eternal Favorite, Mature Chronicle, sending Nightmare Pain, opening the Spirit Gates, and Mature Chronicle to summon Lord of Searing Flames instead if we grab that. Instead of the Haman we summoned earlier, but I wanted to summon the Haman for a more safer play than what I'm doing currently, which is perfectly fine. There's a lot of other ways that you can still utilize this, but right now we have the full board of Spirit of Yubel, Haman, Raviel, and Dark Beckoning Beast. Now, what are you going to do if you got a Super Poly and a Fallen of Paradise that you don't really want to utilize? Well, in this case, you can go ahead and discard the Fallen of Paradise, activate Super Poly. Super Poly effect lets you fuse off your opponent's monsters. You can make Mud Dragon of Swamp, Garura, basically whatever fits your best case. In some cases, you can even go into Yubel, the Loving Defender, as long as they have effect monsters. So you could take Spirit of Yubel, go into Yubel, the Loving Defender, and their effect monsters, and go directly into that, which can really mess up your opponent because you're doing burn damage instead. And you're basically eating all their effect monsters on their board. What makes it even better is you can set another Super Poly for next turn and do it again, because it just requires one Yubel monster, so you can use Loving Defender to go into another Loving Defender and burn them for more if you would like to. But you are still setting at where you have to discard Uriah, which is fine, but there is other capabilities in which you can play this overall. Aside from that, guys, that's all I really have for this test hand video, but I wanted to show you at least what you can do, because on the crackback, if they can't kill you or really interact with you, you have 8k between 2 Sacred Beasts plus whatever you top deck. So we're going to see what we top deck, which is a Gruesome Grave Squirmer. That's perfectly fine. We can pop it to get something else, which can help us with further plays, or we could just make a rank 10 train and go for damage with these two. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Is it okay if I'm to say I'm catching feelings from all the dealings? Am I astray? What do you say? How are you feeling? Is it the same?